BlackWarGreymon is a Mega Digimon who looks like WarGreymon, but he's pure evil. His Terra Destroyer attack releases a concentration of 100% negative energy. This is the introduction to Digimon Adventure 02 anti-hero BlackWarGreymon that is given to us by Pegasusmon during his first appearance. While it may have seemed fitting at the time, over the course of his existence, BlackWarGreymon would demonstrate a great depth, a true higher consciousness, and undergo character growth worthy of proving the axiom that it's never too late to change. He is not pure evil, he is multifaceted and experiences some very relatable existential confusion and pain. He was created to be used as a tool of destruction and is told he is incapable of anything more. This creates a deep disconnect within himself as he grapples with his existence and comes to understand that he is more than that. In this video, we will revisit the episodes of the series with BlackWarGreymon, taking a look back at his journey, and ultimately come to better understand the character and his quest for meaning. This complex character would first grace our screens in Digimon Adventure 02, Episode 30, Ultimate Antihero. The Digidestined team, still struggling to fully integrate Ken, work together to keep destroying remaining control spires. Meanwhile, Arukenimon plots and creates her most powerful creature yet, one she believes will destroy not only the Digidestined, but the entire digital world as well. Using 100 control spires, her Digimon of Darkness is born. He yells out as he takes form, and Pegasusmon delivers his aforementioned info. He quickly wipes the floor with the kid's Digimon. Even with Ken's addition and Paildremon's presence, the team gets easily and badly defeated. Arukenimon then orders BlackWarGreymon to continue with his destruction, this time being the entire digital world. The character's personality begins to be established as he firmly tells her, "I will take orders from no one. Why should I take orders from you when you are so weak you need me to do your fighting for you? I must find a more worthy opponent," he declares before taking off to the skies. That brings the episode to a close, and I would say that he has a pretty strong introduction. The visual effects of his creation are unique, and his destruction of the Digidestined is intense. It is pretty rare in this series to see the human children outright physically harmed by Digimon to this extent, so to have his extremely powerful attack leave not just the partner Digimon in shambles, but the kids as well, indicates a self-focused power unafraid to cross that line. He also immediately establishes that he cannot be controlled and that he respects and responds to power, leaving him searching for someone on his level. Episode 31, Opposites Attract, opens to BlackWarGreymon tramping through the Digiworld, continuing his search for an opponent. Arukenimon and Mummymon follow in pursuit in their fun yellow car, which I don't think I have mentioned before, but I do like the design, even though when I first saw it I thought it seemed a bit out of place. Now I view it as iconic. In the real world, the kids ponder the situation. The team commits to the idea that they all need to learn to DNA Digivolve in order to stand up to BlackWarGreymon. Kari shares her own perspective on the situation, extending kindness towards the foe. She says, "I kind of feel sorry for him. He must be very confused and lonely. She created him to be a fighting machine. That just seems really sad to me." Yoli counters her, saying she can't believe that Kari sounds like she is worrying about a cold-blooded monster, to which Kari replies, "Not really, I just care about him." Davis summarizes their interaction. "That's the difference between you and Kari. She cares about other people." That rightfully upsets Yoli, and this sets the tone for this episode, which focuses on Kari and Yoli coming together, as opposites as the title suggests, in order for their Digimon to DNA Digivolve. A brief musing that I had here. I do think Kari is a sweet and empathetic person who would feel for any Digimon in BlackWarGreymon's place. However, I wonder if there is some kind of subconscious attachment, as she has an inherent connection to this Digivolution line, not only because of her brother Tai and his own WarGreymon partner causing a familial loyalty, but stemming back to that original Koromon who visited the Kamiya kids in Heightened View Terrace way back in the day. Back in the digital world, the group gets separated, and Kari, Yoli, and Ken end up on their own and eventually encounter the Dark Ocean world. This is an important episode for many reasons, and it's one I have quoted in multiple videos. The connection between Kari and Ken in the Dark Ocean, Kari positing that it's because they keep feelings inside which makes them vulnerable to darkness, Yoli and Kari being honest about their differences, but also their respect and admiration for each other, the appearance of Sylphimon, All great things that take up the episode, and thus we do not see more of BlackWarGreymon until the next episode, a very important one for him, number 32, entitled If I Only Had a Heart. We open to a dusty scene of carnage, BlackWarGreymon leaving a trail of destruction behind him. He continues to seek a worthy opponent and is continually disappointed by a lack of rival power. Upon encountering a herd of Control Spire Mammothmon, BlackWarGreymon is confronted by Arukenimon and Mummymon. He is unfazed and effortlessly battles the herd. As he fights, he thinks, I defeat my opponents so easily. It's not enough. I still feel an emptiness inside. No matter what I do, nothing seems to fill this void. He cries out, Why do I feel so empty? Arukenimon laughs at him. You can't be feeling empty because you have no feelings. It's just your imagination. I created you from Control Spires, so you're nothing more than my little puppet. She goes on, I wonder why you are experiencing these imaginary feelings of yours. It's quite possible that when the Control Spires you were made from fused together, the leftover programs that weren't being used caused this reaction. Leftover programs? BlackWarGreymon questions. How simple it would all be if I were just another one of your Control Spire Digimon, but I'm not. He continues to destroy Mammothmon as he says, I'm not a simple creation from one Control Spire. I'm complex, made of many spires. That's why I suffer, or is it still in my imagination? Mummymon tells him an easy way to end his suffering would be to, quote, just simply forget about all this feeling nonsense and follow orders like you're supposed to do. Sounds like what recruits hear in the military, big yikes. Forget your emotions and therefore empathy for others so you can just follow orders blindly and not think about those you are harming. BlackWarGreymon responds, I will not take orders from those inferior to myself. Arukenimon and Mummymon turn to leave, leaving BlackWarGreymon with more invalidation and teasing. Go ahead and feel if you want, you're of no more use to me. Yeah, feel to your imaginary heart's discontent. BlackWarGreymon states he is not imagining his turmoil and then turns his focus back to destroying the herd of Mammothmon. As the villainous pair drive away, they introduce us to the concept of Destiny Stones, seeking to go destroy one, information that Tentomon overhears. Back to our brooding subject, he realizes he won't be getting answers from the Mammothmon. You poor, simple-minded creatures. How I envy you. I do need to point out a funny transition here. Immediately after BlackWarGreymon says this, we cut to June telling Davis that she envies him, implying he too is a simple-minded creature, which is funny, but also Davis does have far more depth and thought and emotion than that. Back to the main man, he continues trying to get an answer out of the Mammothmon, desperately hoping one of them can answer him and share in his pain. One of his shining moments then transpires. As a Mammothmon approaches, BlackWarGreymon notices a flower. He instinctively prevents the flower from being trampled. He is relieved the flower remains safe, but wonders, but why did I care? What difference does it make if there's one more tiny flower in the world or not? We cut away to Ken for a second, similarly struggling with self-worth and meaning, before coming right back to the flower scene. BlackWarGreymon has a full-on discussion with it, and the optics of him earnestly talking to this flower is humorous but real. You and I are very different. I mean, besides the obvious. You're a little flower, and I'm the most powerful Digimon on 2 worlds. I mean, you are alive, and I am just artificial. You have real feelings, and I can only imagine it, like I imagine this pain in my heart. His eyes nearly well with tears as he steps on the flower. Why should I care about whether a tiny flower lives or dies? Who cares? All I want to know is, where is this empty feeling inside of me coming from? If I'm not a true living creature, why does my heart ache? And the truth is, my heart doesn't even exist. Later on, as BlackWarGreymon continues his solitary journey, walking through the digital world, he encounters Agumon, who greets him warmly. Agumon is always a breath of positive, fresh air, and he introduces himself to BlackWarGreymon in an effort to connect with him, sharing that he also becomes WarGreymon. BlackWarGreymon has hope in his eyes, asking if he is also from Control Spires, but that quickly fades as Agumon shares he came from a Digi-Egg. BlackWarGreymon thinks this means he couldn't possibly understand him, and thus has nothing to say. Agumon asks him to wait, as maybe he can help. BlackWarGreymon decides to stay and give Agumon a chance to answer the questions that plague him, as he says. One such question is about the location of Agumon's heart. He says he doesn't know where it is, leading BlackWarGreymon to question if it even really exists, or if the heart is just an illusion. Agumon emphatically disagrees with that, saying he knows he has one. When you really care about someone more than you care about yourself, it's called love, and I know it comes from the heart, he shares whilst thinking of Tai. BlackWarGreymon seems to accept this, but then asks why does he have a heart? Agumon shares he doesn't know why, but he knows that humans and Digimon have them. BlackWarGreymon wonders if he was created with or without a heart, being a different kind of Digimon altogether. The two Digimon share in their confusion and lack of understanding of the situation. BlackWarGreymon continues, I'm just a thing. Why would I possibly have any use for a heart in the first place? Agumon concedes to that point, but says that BlackWarGreymon can be a friend. If you care about me, then we're friends. And if we're friends, then you have a heart. You can't have one without the other. BlackWarGreymon worries he may not be capable of being a friend, but realizes if that ends up being the case, then that would at least prove one way or another if he has a heart. Agumon tells him that everyone is capable of being someone's friend, but sometimes it takes time, which is very true. BlackWarGreymon begins to grow irritated as he still isn't feeling better and says, I should just destroy you and move on. It seems to be my purpose in life, and if that's so, then so be it. I will dedicate myself to being the most powerful. He then thinks of that little flower. But I have to know if that is my true destiny, or if there's something more for me in this world than just fighting. You know, like a reason I'm here? For some, it's money, others, power, and for you, perhaps friendship. But I have to know the reason why I was created. Agumon's response is highly accurate. Boy, are you a serious guy. Their conversation continues into the night, with BlackWarGreymon struggling with the idea of having a heart, as that would limit his full fighting potential, and he does not know which side of himself to put his energy towards, his heart and friendship, or fighting to become the most powerful. Agumon says, Fighting is important, but it's not everything. You need to trust me as your friend before you can find your heart. BlackWarGreymon agrees to be his friend, and if it ends up that he is in fact heartless, he will just have to destroy the other Mon. They reach out to shake hands. Throughout their philosophizing, we cut back and forth with the other plot. Arukenimon created Nightmon to destroy the Destiny Stone, and the Digidestined show up to try to stop them. Nefertimon has heard rumors of these stones and knows that if they are destroyed, something terrible is said to happen to the Digiworld. Nightmon gets a good shot in at the stone, causing BlackWarGreymon to feel extreme pain. He takes off and arrives at the stone, destroying it and Nightmon. Once the stone breaks, catastrophe follows, and BlackWarGreymon wonders, could destroying the Destiny Stones be my destiny? Episode 33, A Chance Encounter. This episode focuses on Yoli on her school trip in Kyoto. I really liked seeing her with her other classmates and friends, and I actually went to high school in Japan for a year, and we similarly went to Kyoto on our class trip, and all of the temples shown in this episode are real, and I got to visit them as well. She leaves Poramon behind with Izzy, who we see hanging out and talking with fellow genius Ken, providing some lore. This is an underexplored dynamic that I really enjoy. Anyway, Yoli ends up seeing shadowy versions of Digimon, perhaps most importantly, BlackWarGreymon. We see him destroying another Destiny Stone back in the Digiworld, believing his suffering will end once he destroys them all. The other kids are there too and observe strange warping distortions happening after the stone's destruction. Yoli tries to confront the Digimon in the real world solo, with one physically manifesting, an Apemon. Ken and Stingmon show up to hand off Poramon to Yoli and send the Apemon back to the Digiworld, as Apemon is not a Control Spire Digimon and they don't want to destroy him. Yoli is then confronted by two men who know about Digimon. They reveal themselves to be Joe's brother, Jim. The dub conflates Joe's two brothers into one, and Sora's father, who is a professor. Poor Yoli, it's actually so weird these two guys know all about her before she knows anything about who they actually are. Stranger danger. Also, I've always had a thing for Matt's dad, and always will, but Sora's dad isn't too shabby either. Don't judge me. Also, the fact that he studies myth and legends and folklore and such, I love it. But I don't love that means he was always gone and traveling, and he even admits to it negatively affecting Sora. I won't get into all of that, as it is not germane to this video, but it is certainly interesting. What is actually more relevant is him sharing about Kyoto having a strong connection to animal spirits, and that the city was chosen to be the capital, which it was Japan's capital city for over a millennia, due to the fact that there are 4 gods in harmony around the city. He shares some other information, but basically, Kyoto is close to the spirit world and any other world than our own, such as the digital world. Professor Takenouchi shares that he believes Digimon are creatures of legend that have over time gained consciousness and become real. The Destiny Stones arc has some very compact episodes with lots of new lore drops that can be slightly hard to distill down into easily understandable sentences, I'm not gonna lie. A Musyamon attacks them, but they are able to send it back to the Digiworld, and the shadow figures of BlackWarGreymon and the others disappear. Yoli is then reunited with her class. Episode 34 is entitled Destiny in Doubt. This opens to BlackWarGreymon continuing to struggle with his existence. There must be some kind of answer out there. Who I am, what I'm meant to do. Alas, until I find it, I must follow the call of the Destiny Stones. In the school's computer lab, Yoli shares what she learned from Sora's dad. The kids show how the digital world being affected directly impacts the real world, thus the destruction of the Destiny Stones could be the end of everything. Izzy shows up, and Yoli brought him a souvenir, and that's yet another underexplored dynamic that I like, especially given the similarities between Yoli and Izzy when it comes to intelligence and computer skills. Izzy updates their D3s to help them track BlackWarGreymon. Speaking of, he has found another Destiny Stone in the digital world and promptly destroys it, revealing an image of Azulanmon, though we do not officially meet him for a few episodes. BlackWarGreymon believes this to be the foe he has been searching for, and thinks that he draws him closer with each Destiny Stone destroyed. The kids find the wreckage of the stone, and TK gets very angry. This kicks off a mini arc in the next few episodes of Cody being really put off by TK's anger, and he has to work to better understand him so that they can DNA digivolve. BlackWarGreymon continues his search and continues to demonstrate his above-average vocabulary, thinking, "It galls me to have been so close to the opponent I so hungrily seek, only to have him ripped away from me. I must find him." We cut to see more of Cody's internal struggle, and also catch TK having a nightmare about Anjumon's sacrifice back in the fight against Devimon. TK legitimately has PTSD, and I have spoken about that a bit in other videos. If you are interested in TK and his anger against darkness, or his relationship with Cody, check out his section of my Astrology of the Digidestined video. I get into it with a bit more detail there. Back to BlackWarGreymon, still chasing down stones. Soon we shall meet my nemesis, and I will find a purpose for my existence. The kids meet up with Gabumon, who shares the location of a Destiny Stone. He also tells TK and Cody that BlackWarGreymon has a heart, Agumon having told him about their conversation. Again, more Cody and TK development. The other kids find the stone, and BlackWarGreymon arrives. They try to hold him off, but they are also attacked by Arukenimon and Mummymon. Anjumon shows up to try to stop him. The Destiny Stone somehow allows Anjumon to digivolve into Magna Anjumon, which is incredibly hype to see, and if anyone could stop BlackWarGreymon, wouldn't it be him? Unfortunately, even he isn't able to match the Dark Digimon's strength. He does get in a few good lines, such as telling BlackWarGreymon that he actually understands what a heart is for. Unlike you, who thinks it means you can do whatever you want, your irresponsibility could destroy the whole world, so you must be stopped. BlackWarGreymon destroys the stone, and Magna Anjumon reverts back to Patamon. Azulanmon briefly appears again, and BlackWarGreymon takes off for another stone. Episode 35, Cody Takes a Stand. This episode has one of my favorite scenes of the entire series. The episode opens to a snowy skirmish that ends with BlackWarGreymon destroying another Destiny Stone. Cue the Azulanmon appearance and disappearance. Back in the real world, TK gives a speech to the kids to not give up. Davis invites Ken over for a sleepover, and Ken's mom's reaction pulls at the heartstrings. I love to see Ichijoji growth. The girls decide to hang out at Davis's for a bit too. Cody, meanwhile, visits Matt to try to understand TK better. Matt gives insight into TK's Anjumon Devimon trauma and his inherent anger at the powers of darkness. We see BlackWarGreymon angrily trampling through the Digiworld, carelessly stepping on some cacti, which shows the difference in his state of mind now versus a few episodes ago with the flower. He has allowed himself to be all consumed with the idea of meeting his worthy opponent and destroying the Destiny Stones. Arukenimon and Mummymon follow after him, and he tells them to never tell him what to do ever again, as he destroys control spires along the way. Arukenimon says that BlackWarGreymon is acting just like a big crybaby, but that's an incredibly dangerous crybaby. And crybaby here translates to emotionally immature and needing to get his own way, and aren't the most dangerous people in the world emotionally immature individuals lacking any EQ that also demand to get their way regardless of how it affects others? There is a sweet moment of friendship before the underwater Destiny Stone is revealed, with my dude Ikakumon there to help defend it. Cody and Samarimon join him. BlackWarGreymon enters the fray. He ends up parting the sea, and this allows Cody to take his stand. He steps in front of the stone and confronts the dark figure. Cody appeals to BlackWarGreymon's heart, asking to be friends and to stop disrupting the balances of multiple worlds. He retorts, "Quiet! Who are you to tell me not to fight? It is my ultimate destiny to be the greatest fighter ever created. My only thought now is destroying the Destiny Stones so I can meet my opponent. I have cleared my mind of such petty things as worrying and feelings, and I am finally focused. Now get out of my way or die." Cody doesn't budge, and BlackWarGreymon is reminded of that tiny flower, causing him to hesitate. Angemon swoops down to save Cody and Armadillomon as BlackWarGreymon charges and ends up destroying the stone. The kids escape, and we cut to the treasured scene I mentioned at the top of this episode. Cody and TK, with their Digimon, bask in the sunset at the beach and comment on the preciousness of life, bonding over their desire to protect it at all costs and their anger at the thought of evil. It is extraordinarily beautiful to me, and the score that plays only adds to the swell of emotion. Moving on to episode 36, Stone Soup. BlackWarGreymon is still on the warpath, destroying left and right. Arukenimon and Mummymon roll up to an ornate Chinese restaurant run by Tapirmon and Digitamamon and enjoy some soup. The kids arrive there as well. The duo takes off in their car, leaving the kids to fuel up with some Chinese food. The other two find a spring that supposedly is the source of the soup, which is where the last Destiny Stone lies. BlackWarGreymon shows up, and the kids arrive as well. This leads to Angemon and Ankylomon DNA digivolving into Shakuamon for the first time. The episode ends on a cliffhanger, and the next one resumes immediately, number 37, entitled Kyoto Dragon. This one is dense. The three DNA Digimon take on BlackWarGreymon. They get in some good shots, and BlackWarGreymon, spurting out what I assume to be the equivalent of his blood, says, "I grow tired of this fight. I'm going to find my answers right here, right now. I keep asking questions of my enemies, and yet I still get no answers. Why am I so different from them? Why was I created like this? Well, if they won't answer me, then why should I be concerned about them anymore? I've given every opponent the chance to convince me otherwise, but now I am through talking. Why should I care if they are destroyed, or for that matter, their whole precious digital world? Destroying the Destiny Stone means my own destruction as well, but if that's what it takes to finally find my answer, then so be it." As Kari comments, he seems so sad, and he needs a friend. The kids use their Digivices to try to move the stone, while the Digimon hold off BlackWarGreymon, and the Restaurantmon take on Arukenimon and Mummymon. This results in the true appearance of Azulanmon, whose first words are directed at BlackWarGreymon. You are the one with the accursed soul of darkness." He asks why he has been destroying the Destiny Stones, to which BlackWarGreymon replies he has been trying to bring forth his ultimate opponent to fight. Azulanmon introduces himself. "I am Azulanmon. I am the guardian of the eastern hemisphere of the digital world and the keeper of the spheres of light and hope. Because you have destroyed the Destiny Stones, this world has become unbalanced. Do you understand the consequences of what you have done?" The Dark Soul Digimon says he doesn't care and seeks to fight as it's his destiny. He charges the godly figure, who promptly calls him a fool. "You mean that's the reason you caused all of this suffering, when it is your existence itself that seals my power and causes the unbalance in this world?" He goes on, "The control spires here in the eastern region were built to seal my power, and you are made from 100 of those spires." Arukenimon shows up to describe her plan of building control spires, as many as possible, to upset the balance of the digital world. BlackWarGreymon was created in response to the Digidestined destroying the control spires in order to stop them. BlackWarGreymon confronts Arukenimon, but Azulanmon interjects. You see, every life has a purpose, a reason. The circumstances surrounding its birth don't matter. You're saying that my life has a meaning too? BlackWarGreymon asks. Precisely, Azulanmon replies, but it is up to you to find out what that meaning is. BlackWarGreymon unhands Arukenimon and says, I am grateful to have met you. I now know that my life has meaning, even if that meaning is only to be hated and loathed. He walks away saying he's going someplace where things go to disappear. Most of the remainder of the episode is Azulanmon explaining lore to the Digidestined. He is one of 4 guardians of the digital world, similar to the 4 guardians described by Sora's dad. Azulanmon explains that the Dark Masters sealed away the guardians. Even with the Dark Masters defeated, the seal could not be broken until the Digidestined release their power of their crests, hence why they are not able to digivolve into Ultimate this series. He goes into detail about the specifics of armored digivolving, Digi-Eggs, and the Crest of Kindness. BlackWarGreymon cries out in pain and is seen flying away. Azulanmon says, My friend, I feel your agony. I hope that one day you will find the answer to your question. Seeds of light are planted to serve the purpose of the Destiny Stones. I want to include an exchange between Ken and TK here because they describe feelings I myself struggle with and ideas I have had to come to accept. Ken says, I was thinking that we might just have to find and destroy every single thing that has to do with the powers of darkness. Otherwise, they will continue to grow bigger and bigger. TK responds, I don't think that will be necessary. I agree that the powers of darkness are a terrible thing, and I think I speak for all of us by saying it would be easier if they were destroyed. But I just don't think that's possible. Because where there's light, you'll always find darkness as well. We have to remember that no matter how the powers of darkness surround you, the most important thing is not to lose the light inside. He echoes this thought again during the epilogue of the series, and at the time I watched this last year, I was struggling with the darkness in the world. But accepting that it will always exist in some form actually does help. The best thing you can do to combat it is not necessarily to take action like Ken suggested, and to try to whack-a-mole destroy all forms of darkness, but instead to amplify and spread your own light. In this scene, Azulanmon says that the light inside is hope. More lore dropping about the crests of light and hope here. He leaves them with the warning that there are more threats out there, that Arukenimon and Mummymon are merely pawns for an even greater hatred in existence. This sets up the Oikawa arc, and the episode concludes with a control spire spotted in the real world. Following this, we do not see BlackWarGreymon for a bit, as he does not appear from the Christmas episode through the Digimon World Tour, and the episodes focusing on Daemon and Oikawa's introduction. He bursts back onto the scene, in epic fashion, in episode 46, Duel of the WarGreymon. This episode begins with the kids learning more about Oikawa from Ken's dad. The man himself isolates in a cabin with his henchman. In the snowy night, we see a fireball of sorts crash down into the forest. This is revealed to be BlackWarGreymon. He confronts the cabin dwellers the next day as the kids monitor the Darkspore children. Kari and Tai head to the digital world, and Agumon and Gabumon tell them that BlackWarGreymon was able to enter the real world after Azulanmon's power was shared with the other Digimon episodes prior, thus weakening the barrier. The Kamiya squad is able to follow after BlackWarGreymon via the portal. Now for the confrontation of BlackWarGreymon and the henchman. So we meet again, he says. The others prepare to fight, and Oikawa joins. So this is the infamous BlackWarGreymon. Just what do you hope to accomplish here? I wish to look upon the face of my creator, he says. Arukenimon tells him that she made him, but he counters. Perhaps, but who gave you life? And who is your creator, Mummymon? Which they have apparently never thought about before. It was me, Oikawa says. I made both of these Digimon by turning my DNA into data. So you see, BlackWarGreymon, I am the creator you've been searching for. Then I am a product of the real world, not the digital one. Interesting. Oikawa tells him to leave now that he's gotten what he came for, but he is ignored. It's all beginning to make sense to me now. I've been searching for answers in the digital world, trying to find meaning of my existence, but have been able to find nothing to ease my pain. And now I know why. I was created from you, just like Arukenimon and Mummymon were. We're a part of the real world, foreign to the digital world. We do not belong there. Oikawa turns to leave, but BlackWarGreymon says, I'll leave as soon as I'm done here. Foreign objects must be eliminated. What are you talking about? I'm not a foreign object, Oikawa counters. But you are, BlackWarGreymon says. You belong in neither the digital world nor the real world. You upset the balance of both. This totally triggers Oikawa, and a fight is just about to begin before Agumon stops him. He warp digivolves into WarGreymon thanks to Azulonmon's power. Nefertimon and eventually the others pursue the Dark Trio, but they end up getting away. Meanwhile, Tai explains that Oikawa is needed to help the Darkspoor children, so they have to stop BlackWarGreymon from harming him. Their fight continues, and WarGreymon harkens back to their talk, saying they should be working together. I don't understand you. Why do you have to fight when we could be friends? Friendship is weakness, BlackWarGreymon says. Fighting, struggle, that is my life. But it doesn't have to be that way. He ignores that, and the fighting continues. Imperial Dramon joins in to help WarGreymon. A large explosion occurs in the sky, and the 4 Digimon involved lay devoid of energy on a cliffside in a poignant moment. BlackWarGreymon states his surprise at being defeated. Though I almost wish you had destroyed me completely. Wormmon gets angry at this. My life has no meaning. Poor, pitiful me. I know all about self-pity. He shares how there are times he wanted to give up when Ken was the Digimon Emperor, times he almost believed the bad things Ken had said to him, but he never gave up hope, and neither should BlackWarGreymon. Agumon continues. Even if your life is all fighting and struggle, it can still have meaning. I've had a fight all my life, but I believed in what I was fighting for. I think it's that belief, not the fighting, that has given my life meaning. Vmon adds his 2 cents. And your life doesn't have to, be filled with a bunch of incredibly amazing events to be special. Believe me, some of the best times I've had are just eating and sleeping and hanging out with my friends. And the thing is, we would all be your friends if you just gave us the chance to be. Wormmon uses Ken as an example of someone who also didn't feel open to or worthy of friends, but he has them now. BlackWarGreymon gets up. This is all so foreign to me. I must think on it. I thank you for your advice. Perhaps it is time to put aside my warrior ways. They have provided me few answers. And maybe one day we could even be friends. He takes flight as Agumon says, I hope so, BlackWarGreymon. I hope so. The last episode of the series to feature this character is the next episode, number 47, BlackWarGreymon's Destiny. It opens to the OG partner Digimon guarding the Heightened View Terrace gate from the digital side. This is a very important episode, with Oikawa lore being a heavy focus. We learn of his late best friend, Cody's father Hiroki. We also have the blooming of the first Dark Spore. I spoke more about that in my Oikawa video, as well as my full overview of the 02 series, if you're interested. Moving ahead to the episode climax, the team confronts Oikawa as he harvests Noriko's spore. BlackWarGreymon then flies onto the scene to stop Oikawa. He tells WarGreymon that there is a dark influence permeating the cloud around Oikawa, and he needs to find out what it is. Oikawa, we have unfinished business. He goads him. Did you create your 2 flunkies because you were afraid to be alone? Do you think that power is going to bring you happiness? If you do, then you're living in a dream. Power isn't going to help you escape the loneliness you feel because you don't have any friends. It just makes it worse. Take it from me. The more powerful you get, the more alone you become. Cody's grandfather then arrives, trying to talk sense into and connect with Oikawa, which nearly works, but he is overcome with darkness. BlackWarGreymon takes a hit aimed for Cody's grandfather and sees Myotismon within Oikawa, crying out, Oh no! You! It can't be! No! How could I have been so blind? I should have known. Oikawa tells him, You're perfectly right about being alone. We're both doomed to remain this way forever. There isn't any other choice. BlackWarGreymon tells him that he's being controlled and that this changes everything. Oikawa takes off to continue his plan. BlackWarGreymon yells out that he must not be allowed into the digital world ever again. BlackWarGreymon feels his body deteriorating. In his final moments, he finally takes control of his life and decides for himself his own life's meaning. My strength is my final gift to you, my friends. I will seal the heightened view terrace gate with my own body. WarGreymon tries to stop him, but he takes off and delivers on his promise. He disintegrates as he seals the gate, one final eternal gift to make up for his sins and prevent further destruction of the digital and real worlds alike. A rainbow stretches across the sky as WarGreymon calls out BlackWarGreymon's name. In the digital world, the partner Digimon see the image of BlackWarGreymon imprinted onto the gate. The episode ends on that image, Agumon saying, "Thank you, BlackWarGreymon. You're a true friend, and I'll never forget you." That was such a poignant ending. BlackWarGreymon finally accomplished his life goal. He found meaning in his existence and fulfilled his self-created destiny. He was able to give back to those he had finally allowed to be his friends. Revisiting these episodes, we can clearly see this character gives us much to discuss in further detail. To start, I will expand on the theme of destiny and meaning. It brings to mind the ideas posited by Viktor Frankl. Frankl was a 20th century psychiatrist, neurologist, and philosopher. Of Austrian descent, he was a Holocaust survivor, and his work was heavily influenced by those experiences. He championed logotherapy, which held the idea that the primary human motivation in life is to find meaning and purpose, even in the midst of suffering. I'm not claiming this man or this theory to be without fault, but the core tenet perfectly fits BlackWarGreymon. His primary motivation does seem to be this quest for meaning. He keeps seeking to understand himself, to understand his purpose. With the guidance of Azulonmon and Agumon, he is told that he has to be the one to find that meaning. Agumon even inadvertently summarizes this existential therapeutic approach. After their fight, or duel rather, this line in particular applies. Even if your life is all fighting and struggle, it can still have meaning. I've had to fight all my life, but I believed in what I was fighting for. I think it's that belief, not the fighting, that has given my life meaning. BlackWarGreymon's life was mostly suffering, but ultimately, he found meaning in his self-annihilation. He believed in what he was doing, and that finally granted him the peace he had been searching for. To clarify, the belief in his actions gave that peace, not his actual death. I do not advocate for finding peace in death. I mentioned Azulonmon as well, who had these words to say to BlackWarGreymon. "You see, every life has a purpose, a reason. The circumstances surrounding its birth don't matter, but it is up to you to find out what that meaning is." This speaks to one's agency and autonomy, which I think is a theme for not only BlackWarGreymon, but also applies to Oikawa and Ken. All three of them have to reclaim their personhood and disentangle their own desires from those of others. But I wanted to point out how Azulonmon's words really match up to that of a prominent character from another piece of media, that being Mewtwo of Pokémon. In Pokémon, the first movie, he comes to the realization, "I see now that the circumstances of one's birth are irrelevant. It is what you do with the gift of life that determines who you are." Mewtwo and BlackWarGreymon are actually very similar. They were created by others to do their bidding. They were assumed to have no deep inner world or consciousness, yet clearly do, and their rights were taken away. They are both incredibly powerful beings that are feared by many. Both characters struggle with being artificial, Mewtwo being a clone, and BlackWarGreymon having been created from control spires. They also both soften their hearts and eventually allow themselves connection. Speaking of Pokémon, BlackWarGreymon reminds me of the earlier days of Ash's Charizard, another powerful reptilian creature who refused to take orders due to lack of respect of those giving them. This brings me to the idea of power and how, for most of his life, BlackWarGreymon responds to and respects that. He refuses to listen to those he views as inferior or less powerful than him, and his focus is on finding a worthy opponent, someone of equal strength. It's wonderful to see his value system change as he goes from respecting simply power and destruction to understanding the importance of connection and friendship. Onto that pattern of destruction, I want to explore BlackWarGreymon's Destiny Stone rampage and offer a view on his motivation to do so. There is obviously the chasing after of Azulonmon, of his white whale of a rival, but there is also more to this. When the first Destiny Stone is damaged, BlackWarGreymon feels a pain so distracting he is overcome and is almost primally connected to the stones. Yet the pain he feels from that acts as a distracting balm to him, offering reprieve from his overwhelming emptiness. This is a similar process to self-harm. Many people describe these behaviors as acting as a distraction from their pain and also offering control. I am not promoting these behaviors, please understand that, and please take care of yourselves and seek support if you need it. However, I do believe BlackWarGreymon is demonstrating this. He cannot sit with the emptiness, with the discomfort and discord he feels inside, and I think destroying the Destiny Stones not only offers a sense of control, but also gives him this sought-after, distracting pain. To that point of emptiness, BlackWarGreymon feels as though he does not have any reason for living, any meaning or purpose. Without those things, existence can feel quite empty. He has no tools for understanding what he is going through, which I will speak more to later, and so he constantly looks outside himself for answers. In doing so, he actually demonstrates an off-putting entitlement. He expects others to cater to his questions and provide the knowledge he seeks. This is demonstrated via the Mammothmon herd and also with Agumon. And when he does not get what he wants from others, he acts out and destroys them. He even tells Agumon, after agreeing to be his friend, that if it doesn't work out, he'll just have to destroy him. I really love this character and think there are so many great things to talk about, but he is not without fault. He is a victim of a lot of injustice, but that is not an excuse for the pain he causes to others. He does grow, however, and instead of asking others to validate his existence and share in his pain, he learns the lessons we covered earlier, that one must create meaning for oneself. The answers we seek most often lie within ourselves. To continue with another not necessarily positive character trait, BlackWarGreymon has an immense sense of superiority. He thinks no one is on his level and that he cannot be reached. He feels he is too different, too powerful, and honestly too intelligent. And he is different, powerful, and intelligent, but not so much that he is above everyone else, which I think he learns, to an extent, after his battle with WarGreymon in Imperial Dramon. To that aspect of intelligence, though, this reminds me of the art of overthinking, which often leads to anxiety and a detachment from living in the present, as well as an over-intellectualization of life. Those that are constantly thinking over the very meaning of life and get existential with everything are often not all that happy. A popular Ernest Hemingway quote goes as follows: "Happiness in intelligent people is the rarest thing I know." While there's some pretentiousness to this quote, perhaps, I do think there is something to be said for overthinking and thinking deeply, which tend to co-occur in intelligent people, that causes a more pained existence. There is a reason they say ignorance is bliss. This is also covered in an episode of The Simpsons, Season 12, Episode 9, Homer, wherein Homer's IQ shoots up after removing a crayon that had been lodged in his brain most of his life. This allows him to bond with Lisa, and she shares with him that as intelligence goes up, happiness often goes down. I won't belabor this, as I know my Digimon audience is different than my Simpsons peeps for the most part, but Osmodiar shows up again in this episode, which is so fun. I mention all of this, though, as it pertains to BlackWarGreymon. He thinks quite deeply. He is shown to have high intelligence. And he is quite obviously extremely unhappy. Oftentimes, a solution to being in one's head to an extreme like this, being a serious guy, as Agumon put it, is to anchor oneself in the present and to really feel life and the emotions it conjures in us. I will briefly add to this, in tandem with the otherness BlackWarGreymon is ascribed and feels. Studies show that neurodivergent, especially autistic, brains produce around 42% more thoughts at rest than the typical person's brain. So, BlackWarGreymon could, in a way, represent this divergent mind, and perhaps that's why he can't just shut off his thoughts or feelings. Before I go on to discussing BlackWarGreymon's heart and his friendships, I want to touch on that concept of feeling and circle back to the fact that BlackWarGreymon was not provided any help in adjusting to the world after his creation, nor any love. There's a quote here that I think is applicable. "Abuse survivors aren't only healing from the abuse they endured, but from the ways they were treated when they asked for help. BlackWarGreymon is treated quite terribly when he indirectly asks for help from Arukenimon and Mummymon. In episode 32, after yelling out, 'Why do I feel so empty?' Arukenimon laughs at him and tells him he can't be feeling empty as he has no feelings. She says he must be imagining it, claiming he's little more than a puppet. Mummymon later adds, 'Yeah, feel to your imaginary heart's discontent.' This feels like every invalidating and gaslighting parent who refuses to acknowledge their child's mental health struggles or disabilities, or their own abuse or neglect. And Arukenimon, and by extension Mummymon, do play that role of proxy parents, being the ones to birth him into the digital world. And they fail him epically. Not only do they not help him adjust to living, but they actively harm him and tell him his very existence is wrong and different. This causes BlackWarGreymon to struggle even more with himself, never knowing what acceptance feels like. He inherently knows he has feelings and is conscious and aware and has the same sentience as others, yet he is constantly told how bad and other he is. Perhaps because I was also constantly mocked and belittled and emotionally invalidated by those who should have been bolstering me up and providing safety, I can really relate to how awful that feels and how that can massively affect your self-worth for years to come, if not a lifetime. If you feel something, it's valid for you, and no one else can tell you what to feel. It's quite sad that BlackWarGreymon has this negative experience be so formative to his worldview and self-concept. Going off this idea that BlackWarGreymon was emotionally neglected and honestly abused by those proxy caregivers, when we compare him to Agumon, we can see the stark differences between the two and thus the profound impact of love and emotional safety. Agumon has had a surplus of love in his life. He has been cared for, has built-in family and community, and was born with a purpose, that of being Tai's Digimon partner. All of these things are the very things BlackWarGreymon lacks and so desperately desires, consciously or not. We can see that when a being is failed during their early life, the consequences are extreme and potentially lifelong. Agumon has secure attachment, he has support, he has meaning. This leads him to being secure within himself, which enables him to live in concert with his inner child. He retains that whimsy and joy and optimism. On the other side of things, BlackWarGreymon never got to be a child, never got to be taken care of or supported. He is empty inside and doesn't know himself, having been at war between what he feels and what he was told he is. The emotional neglect he experienced led to self-hatred. These two, while theoretically could have been very similar, are in fact near polar opposites at the time of their meeting. The visual difference, too, is very indicative of this. Despite their differences, however, this duo shares a deep bond, and BlackWarGreymon is steadily brought closer to the light by Agumon's care and goodness. Upon BlackWarGreymon's arrival in the real world, he confronts Oikawa and lays eyes on his true creator, learning he is a product of the real world. Knowing this, however, does not change the fact that BlackWarGreymon goes all in on suffering and being alone. He thinks that his life's meaning is in suffering itself, and considers friendship to be weakness, going against that meaning. After being brought down by WarGreymon and Imperial Dramon, he tells them he almost wishes they had just destroyed him completely, demonstrating ongoing suicidal ideation. He is overwhelmed by his suffering as he is so focused on it, thinking that is all he is destined to feel. This is where Wormmon, Agumon, and Vmon teach him that will to meaning, that Frankel-esque belief, and offer their friendship. Finally, light seems to creep in, and BlackWarGreymon thanks them for their advice, continuing to reflect on it. Their words must have really done a number, in tandem with the disillusionment that came with realizing he was not the strongest, most superior fighter meant only to destroy, and in his final sequence, his growth is fully displayed. He shares the lessons he has learned with a struggling Oikawa. Do you think that power is going to bring you happiness? If you do, then you're living in a dream. Power isn't going to help you escape the loneliness you feel because you don't have any friends. It just makes it worse. Take it from me. The more powerful you get, the more alone you become. Though the words aren't enough to break through in that moment, BlackWarGreymon could be proud and strong in his own, newly formed, moral convictions. After learning about Myotismon's possession, BlackWarGreymon instinctively takes to the skies to sacrifice himself to seal the Heightened View Terrace gate. He does this to protect both worlds, to protect his newfound friends. Long having been defined by suffering, this sacrifice proves BlackWarGreymon finding meaning despite that. And as I said, it was an instinctual response for him, just as it was earlier on when he saved that flower. He cared about something more than he cared about himself. And according to Agumon's definition, that's love, proving that BlackWarGreymon always did have a heart. Going back to his introductory information, this demonstrably proves that he is not evil, and in fact has a heart capable of good. Not only can he find purpose in these final moments, but he finally understands himself better and learns he is able to answer his own questions through self-discovery. In conclusion, BlackWarGreymon is a deeply complex character, offering insight into our own human conditions. He was created to be used and abused, and has to live with the trauma and effects those actions have on an individual. He suffers and he struggles, but he comes to understand that despite what he was told, he is more than an artificial being of destruction. He learns to embrace love and connection. He learns, in a lesson similar to those experienced by Oi, Kawa, and Ken respectively, that power does not heal loneliness. He learns that life can be well lived despite any pain and suffering. He proves that Azulanma Mewtwo adage, that the circumstances of one's birth do not dictate one's destiny, that destiny is instead something one must create for themselves. The thoughts and feelings this character experiences are relatable to a number of different people. I find myself relating to him in his constant search for information about himself. It's taken me nearly 30 years to understand myself, to stop looking outside for purpose, and to stop trying to find myself through others. I suppose I can continue to learn from this character, and continue to seek to find answers within myself, seek to find love and connection with others, and ultimately seek to choose my own destiny, regardless of what has happened. There is more that could be said about BlackWarGreymon, including ideas I did not go into, such as the responsibility of creating life, especially life considered artificial, but I conclude this particular analysis at this time. As I have said, I love and appreciate this character quite a lot, and after rewatching his episodes, I felt overwhelmed by how much I felt and thought about his arc. It was honestly difficult to put into words at times, but I think I have done a good enough job of collating the most resonant and obvious to me themes. I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions on what I've put forth, and on this character in general, in the comments. Please like and subscribe if you're feeling it. My channel has a few different focuses, though its genesis was Digimon, thus more videos on this series and these characters are sure to come. I for sure will make a Ken video at some point to finish out my Digimon Adventure 02 Antagonist trilogy. Thank you so much for watching this video. May you find peace within yourself and live a life that's meaningful to you. Until next time.